Dude, let's go.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Untamed Outdoorsmen. And today we are back on a video that I wasn't really expecting to have to make so soon. And today we are going to be making a video on my newest camera, the DJI Osmo Action 4. So this camera is going to be the main camera we will be using for that third-person camera angle on the kayak that we were doing for the entire 2024 fishing season that we just wrapped up. You know, we've run that camera setup for that whole year, and I really liked that setup. It was a good setup. I liked the angle that we got on it. It was very good. I enjoyed it. However, the camera that we were using, the GoPro Hero 10, was nothing but problems for us. And I hate to say that, but that's the case. That GoPro gave us a ton of issues. I'm going to get a little more into that in a minute here. But that happened. So I quickly realized that we couldn't move forward with that camera into 2025. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. I didn't want to deal with that anymore, but I'll get into that in a second. But this is the newest camera here. So this camera, for me, I am not a tech whiz. You know, obviously I know my way around, editing these videos and doing things like that, but I am not a extreme computer video editing magician. Like, that's just not who I am. I try to make things look nice. I try to make things look professional, but I'm not going to be going super, super crazy. So this camera, I think, will do me really well. The main reason why I went with this camera over another GoPro, and we've been running GoPros since we started the channel. The main reason I went with this guy over a GoPro is its reviews related to reliability. This camera right here, the DJI, is hands down one of the most reliable cameras on the market right now based on customer feedback. Obviously, any company can tell you that their product is reliable, but the overwhelmingly positive reviews on this camera lead me to believe that this is a very reliable camera. And thankfully, we got a good deal with this through Cyber Monday that happened a few days ago. I don't know when you guys are going to be seeing this, but yeah, so this camera is going to be the main camera on the channel. We're going to be doing a few other things to this camera as well, including this small rig cage for the DJI Osmo Action 4. But we are going to be doing a full video going over our camera setup for this kayak, for my Titan X. We're going to go in depth on our camera setup for kayak fishing. So if we don't go very in depth on some of the products, just hang tight. We have another video coming very soon. But I got the camera, obviously. I got this small rig aluminum cage for it. And I also got the 3BR Power Sports waterproof external power mod. I bought that for the Hero 10. I loved it. And I got it for the Osmo Action 4 here as well. So stay tuned for a video on all of that. This video, though, is just going to be mainly about this camera and introducing it to the channel for the first time. Okay, so let's kind of open it up here. There may be a portion of this video that has to be done through my phone. So you may not be able to see that part, but it does require you to download a DJI app. So let me start to get this guy opened up here. Okay, so I just bought the standard kit because that's really all I needed, because we're not really going to be running the batteries out of these. We're going to obviously be hooking up to external power through my kayak. So I don't really need all the extra batteries that came with the different kits. This is just a baseline kit. So we got some silica gel. Don't need that. We have the camera here. So this is, like I said, the DJI Osmo Action 4. A little smaller than the Hero 10, but we'll get into that in a split second here. Okay, we got a few other things in this compartment here. Okay, so we have the cage. This is the DJI cage. We get the cage in here. We get an extra lens, and we get the battery in here. I'll pop these out of the packaging here real quick for you, just to show you. So we have an extra lens, it looks like. We have the batteries, which have very positive reviews about them. Oh, it looks like we got some other things in here too. We have a adhesive base for, it looks like possibly a helmet. And we have their magnetic base system that has very positive reviews on it. this is great. You know, it makes swapping accessories and swapping parts super easy on this. And then obviously you have your cage, and then you have a USB-C cable along with a little screw-in thing to help screw in your various accessories to the DJI. So, yep, pretty simple stuff. So this camera pretty much does what the Hero 10 did for us. It's got all the same accessories. It's got 4K. We mainly ran 1080p 30 on the GoPro Hero 10, but I'm hoping with this new one we can start to dabble in 4K a little bit more reliably at least. But this is the Osmo Action 4 here. Like I said, I'm not a camera whiz, but I do know that this can do a lot of good things. It can do 1080p, 4K, 2.7K. It has the magnetic base. It has a lot of color depth. So you guys will be seeing probably a lot more vibrant colors on the channel with this camera because it does have a dedicated color sensor on the O in the Action 4 there. We also have a front-facing screen here. We have a front screen, which I like a lot because when I turn my head to look at the camera, I can actually touch the screen in the front instead of having to turn the camera around in the back. So that's a big deal for me. I like that a lot. Obviously, the same waterproof characteristics. It's got the wind resistance. But another major thing for me is the resistance to overheating. We dealt with overheating issues on the Hero 10 so frequently, and this one has very little to no complaints about overheating issues. So I like that a lot. That's a major selling point for me to be able to get a more reliable camera. You know, it can have all the crazy features, but if it's not reliable for the channel, it's not good for me. So that's a major selling point for me here. You have your USB, your USB-C dongle, you get the magnetic base on the bottom, and you get the battery compartment here where you can put a micro SD card. We already have a 256 gigabyte micro SD card that we'll be running on the channel. But yeah, guys, so this is not a review video. Keep that in mind, not a review video. This is just a video that's saying, hey, you know, this camera is going to be what we're running. This is going to be our newest camera for us. But yeah, guys, so if you want to see kind of the camera in action a little bit, stay tuned for the 2025 fishing season where we use this camera exclusively. And we're going to be making that video going over our camera setup on the kayak in depth. Okay, guys, so now that we've kind of quickly gone over the initial, impressions of the DJI, just kind of, announcing it to the channel as a camera we're going to be using, I wanted to kind of go over the cameras that we have been using since we pretty much started the channel. These two cameras have been the main ones we've used. This one saw the most amount of time, but I'll get into the reasoning as to why we're replacing this one in a second here. But this is the GoPro Hero 2018. Some of you may not even know that camera existed, and that's the right name, GoPro Hero 2018. This was kind of the bare bones version of the GoPro Hero 5. So it didn't have any of the fancy features of the Hero 5. It did 1080p, it did 1440. That was it. That was all it did. It had no real fancy features like that. It was a very bare bones GoPro. We used this thing from 2019, back when we started the channel, all the way to the end of 2023. This was the only action camera we used. And it was so reliable. It's pretty much all we used. I did not have a single issue with this camera. This thing is such a tried and true camera for us. And I think we're still going to find ways to use this camera in, various things. This is my very reliable head mount camera that I've caught. I think I caught my PB with this camera too. But yeah, this is an extremely reliable camera, giving us absolutely zero issues of any kind in the 6 years that I've had it. I bought it when it was brand new. We'll find a way to keep using this camera. This camera I bought at the beginning of the 2024 fishing season. So this last fishing season that we just wrapped up. I bought it for the third-person camera angle that we were going to do. Mainly because of the aftermarket support through 3BR Power Sports. They had a really nice mount for this, which I actually bought for the DJI Action 4 as well. But I liked the aftermarket support for this Hero 10, and we just wanted to kind of increase the quality of the videos a little bit. And I was hoping that this camera would do that. And I will say, the actual camera quality did improve in the 2024 fishing season. I will say that. But, however, you guys know how little we talk badly about products on this channel. Just in our personal experience, we don't like aimlessly bashing products unless we have a really good reason for it. But you guys know how little we do this. This camera is probably the worst piece of technology and the worst item that we have had on the channel. Since the channel started in 2019, I think this guy takes the cake as the most unreliable piece of technology or accessory we have ever bought. The reasons, it's a couple of reasons. The first one has to be the constant overheating issues and cutting power issues that I had with this camera all throughout the 2024 fishing season. I didn't talk about it much on the channel because I had a feeling I was going to replace this camera and talk about it then. But this camera would randomly cut power all throughout the day. Wouldn't give me any warning, wouldn't give me any beeping telling me that happened, nothing like that. It would constantly cut power. I'll be fishing for a while, then I'll turn around and I'll notice that the camera lost power at some point. And that kind of sucks. You know, we've lost fish from being recorded because of that. That really upset me. But this camera would constantly overheat. And I'm almost positive the cutting power was due to the overheating. When it would constantly overheat, we were not pushing this camera hard at all. It was running 1080p, 30 frames per second, which is the lowest graphical demand setting that you can run on this camera. I believe this camera went all the way to 5.7K and it would constantly overheat, which sucked. It was really frustrating. I would have to, fight with the camera for 5-10 minutes at a time sometimes, and just to get it to turn on again after it overheated. So this thing is, to put it gently, this thing has been a nightmare. I don't recommend this Hero 10. And the other issue that we had was the camera would constantly say that it wasn't getting enough power externally. So we never ran a battery in this camera, which further shows the craziness of it overheating because it didn't even have a battery inside. But anyway, this camera will constantly say that it wasn't getting enough power through the external battery, which we confirmed it was getting 12.6 volts. All the outputs were 12.6 volts. We confirmed that with multimeters, and it still was saying it had a lack of power. It said it needed a minimum of 5 volts, and it was getting obviously more than 5 volts. So, and I actually had to end up installing like a weird firmware to override it just to get the camera to function. So yeah, this GoPro Hero 10, I am so happy that we are replacing. Kind of a shame that it played out that way because I don't like bashing products. I don't like doing it. But I can say with good reason why I dislike this GoPro Hero 10. And this will most likely not be continuing into the 2025 fishing season. I may find a weird use for it. Who knows? It may run better on batteries. If that's the case, maybe we'll find a use for it later on. But this DJI Osmo Action 4 is going to be the main camera on this channel moving forward. And I'm very happy with that. Okay, guys, so really quickly, I do want to show you kind of a close-up look of some of this stuff. Again, one more time, we're going to be going really in-depth on this in a different video. This is just sort of an introductory video to it. So this is the Osmo Action 4. So right here, you get the front-facing camera. You get the Action 4 logo, which does have 2 mics and a color sensor right in there. You get the nice wide lens. This does do a field of view up to 155 degrees. So it's a very wide camera angle. You do get the video stabilization that I got with the GoPro Hero 10. You get the microphone wind adjustment. That's a big deal for me, especially out on the water on windy days. You do get very good wind response. So your audio is not hurting because of high winds. So that's a big deal. I know some of you have commented about that. It is kind of a bummer because a big selling point of this Osmo 4 is the fact that you can hook up the DJI microphones right to this. Unfortunately, we can't do that because we have to run the 3VR Power Sports mount with that, which is coming in the mail actually tomorrow. But it is what it is. Thankfully there's good sensors and, thankfully there's good technology in this camera to make the audio decent with high wind. Right here you get the magnetic base on the bottom, so I'll quickly show you that. I didn't even take it out of the package. So you get the magnetic base here. So it's got these clamps and it is magnetized. And it is actually directionally magnetized too. But there you go. There you go. So that's locked in there good. And then that's locked in. Like I can't pull that out. And then I can just go like that. But there is magnets on it. So, and it's got some texturized magnets too. So it's not destroying the bottom of the camera. But just push it in, then you're locked in. So I like that a lot. That's pretty sweet. Definitely going to be using that. We may, who knows, we may end up using this for a new head mount camera, but hey, who knows? If this camera works out as good as I think it will, we'll probably use this camera exclusively. But yeah, so we got the small rig cage here. This is the original one. I actually wanted this one really bad because it's solid aluminum. This is a solid aluminum cage here. This is just a plastic cage, which is fine for most, but for me, I needed this aluminum case for two reasons. Obviously the durability, but the 3BR Power Sports mount works a lot better with this cage as opposed to the stock cage. But I'll take this out of here real quick and I'll show you kind of what it looks like. There we go. So yeah, that is in there solid. It looks actually pretty sweet. I can't lie. It looks pretty good. Yeah, doesn't really affect any of the buttons except you will have to take it out to swap the batteries, which not that big of a deal for me. But yeah, so this is a pretty sweet mount, and it also looks like you can mount it on its side if you wish to. Yep, you can. So you can mount it on its side too if you want that portrait mode that people like. But for me, you know, we're not going to be putting this camera in any crazy demanding situations. You know, we're going to be running 1080p 30, 4K 30 possibly, consistently behind the third person angle for the kayak. So this is going to be seeing a lot of sun, a lot of heat. So this is the major reason why I bought this DJI, because of the very positive reviews in that particular circumstance. But yeah, guys, so this is not a tech channel showing you how to set up the camera and all the different color and like all the crazy, you know, settings. This is not a tech channel. This is a kayak fishing channel. So yeah, in a later video, we'll be going through all of the kayak fishing setup that we have as a whole. So we'll be showing the camera, we'll be showing all the power, how we run it, how we get power to the GoPro, because a lot of people are starting to ask that question across the internet. So we're going to be making that video very soon here. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is going to be a great camera for us, a lot more reliable than the Hero 10. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for that video coming soon. See you later.